Mister, how do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
I hate technology sometimes. Welcome back.
What happened?
You don't want to know.
Oh,
but we're
God.
back, and we got a special guest waiting for us. But I get a thrill to say this for all three of my stations. We owe you an ID. Let's pause for station identification. This is Snowman in the Morning.
This is WJKS, Indianapolis, Chicago, and the world. This is WSMM-DB, Indianapolis, Louisville, Cincinnati. This is WBWS-DB, Chicago.
And now we welcome Wes Pruett to the conversation this morning. How are you, my friend? Great to have you.
Good morning, sir.
I am doing well, Snowman. I appreciate you having me back on.
I appreciate you being on.
Small correction. I am in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
I'm old.
I get it, man. I get it.
Listen, I'm old. My brain doesn't work half the time.
Yeah.
I've had pills in me since 2021, so the fog is real. Okay.
You ain't shitting.
All right. Let's get to it. Nico Iamaleava.
He did leave him.
Mm-hmm. What has this done to college athletics as a whole?
I think it's done a couple of things, man. First off, I think it's given the leverage back to the university. And I say that because I give full credit to Josh Heupel and the University of Tennessee.
Me too.
Also, I want to say this. The numbers that we're being told these players are signing for these NIL deals, to be brutally honest with you, I don't believe it. I think it's inflated numbers by the agents. I think it's inflated numbers by the parents.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he had a $1.4 million contract at Tennessee. Just my opinion. Could I be wrong? Of course. But you now see, it's funny that he asked for $4 million and now no one's wanting to give it to him, including Tulane University, who has quite the endowment.
Mm-hmm.
So to start there, I think it's put the universities, the power back in the university's hands, which is where it should have been the entire time.
Agreed.
Now you look at Nico, you look at all these other players across the country, and I don't believe that Nico was wanting to opt out before the playoff game. If you knew that information in December or January, whenever, why didn't you say it then? Why do you wait till he leaves the university to come out with it all of a sudden? So I miss me with that. Sorry, I'm just a brutally honest person.
I love it.
At the end of the day, when you look at Nico has put himself in a box. But if you look at the history of Nico, we should not be shocked. If you look at his father, you look at him in his high school time in California, the same thing happened. You look at his brother, who is now here in Fayetteville for the University of Arkansas. Talented football player. So are the balls, but we know about daddy.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're running into another situation where this guy, I don't want to say he wants to be LeVar Ball, because I don't know that anyone wants to be LeVar Ball. But I think that he is trying to, first off, as a credentialed media member for numerous professional and college athletics, don't come in a media member and tell them that they're full of S if you know they're not, because you're going to get found out.
You really are. Wes and I have commiserated over that situation. I've been a credentialed media member for 30 years. No matter what sport I cover, whether it be Northwestern and the Chicago Bulls back home to the Colts here in Indiana, I've done the Vikings in Minnesota. You can't come to a credentialed media member and tell them they're full of it, because when you walk away, they start digging and they find out that who said that to you is full of it. Recently had to go through that as far as 2016. I'll talk about that story after the break. But you just don't do that. And now Nico Iamaleava may not be playing college ball next year.
Bingo.
Speaking of quarterbacks, which team has the greatest need for a quarterback in the nation?
So you're going to laugh. You can call me a homer. That's fine. but I have facts to back up why I'm saying this.
Mm-hmm.
The University of Memphis. Now, people may have
Homer.
like, what? Hey, that's fine. The reason I say that is because of this. They are the only team in the country that has to replace a 4-year starter.
Right.
Mm.
Team in the nation had a 4-year starter, but Memphis. Seth Hennigan last year was the only quarterback in the country to start all 4 years at the same university. In my opinion, he's the last troubadour. No one else will do this.
I agree with that.
This is why I say Memphis has the biggest need for quarterback in the country. You bring in Brandon Lewis, young man who has a strong arm, strong football IQ, can really operate in a high-powered offense. He came from Nevada. Then you bring in the stud, A.J. Hill, young man out of Warner Robins, Georgia, 5-star recruit, one of the best recruits, if not top recruit Memphis has ever brought in. Then you've got Aiden Marrington, young man out of Texas, star dual threat quarterback, can play. In my opinion, it's Brandon Lewis, then Maiden, and then after that, you've got the freshman. A lot of people around Memphis are worried the freshman will leave. They're saying you have to start the freshman. I don't think you can. It's two different situations. Seth Hennigan had to start because Grant Gunnell got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Seth was thrust into the starting position. In this situation, as of right now, knock on wood, there's no injuries. So you go with who is the most experienced. So yes, you can say I'm a homer. That's fine. I've been called way worse. But that is where I say that's the biggest need, because you are replacing a 4-year starter who started out as a true freshman for your program. Oh, and by the way, he also went through 2 different offensive coordinators.
And it's like you said, Wes, you're replacing a 4-year starter. It's different when you're thrust into the starting role due to injury. It's then being thrust into a starting role because of peer pressure. Because let's face it, every D1 school has peer pressure because the parents want their kid to start and he's nowhere near ready. I'll give you an example of what I saw from a kid who was thrust into the starting lineup and did very, very well. Had to do it because of an injury. For you Northwestern fans out there, the name is Zach Kustok.
Yeah.
Zach Kustok, the same quarterback that went toe-to-toe with Drew Brees on a Saturday in October at Northwestern. Drew Brees won 42-28. But Zach Kustok was thrown into that situation because of an injury. They had already picked their starter, but then he got injured. I'll give you another example, staying with Northwestern. Steve Schnurr, 1995. They had 2 other quarterbacks they recruited, but what did Keith Jackson say? It all came back to Steve. It's got to be the best quarterback for your situation. And repeating what you said, replacing a 4-year starter is going to be the hardest thing they're going to do, because you're replacing a kid who knew the offense, like you said, went through 2 offensive coordinators, stuck around. Let me say that again, stuck around.
Because there was offers. I know that for a fact.
Oh yeah. You and I talked about it off the air. There were offers, man.
And then now, you look and you see Seth Hennigan on the John Gruden quarterback camp, and everybody's like, who the hell is this kid? Where did this kid come from?
Right.
I've known about him for years. By the way, I just want to say real quick, man, you've got a great show every day, man. You guys do incredible work, man. I tune in as often as possible. If not, I'll go back and watch it later that night. But I tune in. I'm a regular on this show. Not regular, maybe guest, but regular listener. Long-time listener, first-time caller. No, I thoroughly enjoy your show, man.
Thank you. Much appreciated. What team do you have your eyes on this spring, and why?
Florida State, and it's, once again, not a homer, right? I love Mike Norvell. I think Mike Norvell is an incredible football coach. I think Mike Norvell learned really hard. It's hard to go to Tallahassee and win football games because there's a cloud named Bobby Bowden over that stadium every Saturday.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean that in a negative way. Bobby Bowden's my favorite football coach ever.
Mm-hmm.
You can't take timeouts to heaven, so you call them. I love it. It's one of the
Right.
greatest things ever, right?
Right.
But when you look at Mike Norvell, yes, 10-3 or 3-6 first year there, 5-7, then 10-3, then 13-1. But last year 2-10. You have a lot of turmoil. You have a lot of issues. You lose to your former team, Memphis, at home. That was not pretty for them down there. I know personally. But then there's changes. You bring in Gus Malzahn as your offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really interested to see how that dynamic is going to work because it's still Mike's offense.
Mm-hmm.
I understand it's Gus Malzahn,
Right.
but it's still Mike's offense.
Mm-hmm.
As many offensive coordinators as Mike Norvell's had, I can tell you this for a fact, none of them have called plays. It's been Mike. So I'm very curious to see, is Gus going to be the guy? Is Gus going to be the actual signal caller? Because he's got Thomas Castellanos, young man from Boston College, coming over.
Mm-hmm.
But then now there's reports out of Tallahassee that Gus Malzahn is saying Thomas Castellanos reminds him of Auburn quarterbacks of the past. You're not even letting media into your practices, but then you're telling media this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I have a lot of eyes on this football team. I have a lot of eyes on the University of Alabama this year.
Right.
I have a lot of eyes on the University of Tennessee with the Nico deal.
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska is another team I'm watching this year. Colorado is another team I have an eye on this year. Very interested to see what can happen there post-retirement of jerseys. Anyway, it's just going to be very interesting to see what happens all across college football. And I think a team that I have my eye on as one to watch for a uptick is the University of Alabama. I think year 2 under Kellen DeBoer, I think he kind of understood that first year, hey, there's a little bit of skeletons in the closet that aren't even mine that I have to kind of fight. He's not doing it the Saban way. He's doing it his own way, which kudos to him. Why would he not come in and do it his way, right? But Kellen DeBoer is one that I want to keep an eye on. I'm really interested to see what he can do year 2. And spring football, we're seeing it. We see more and more schools not doing spring football games. You're seeing Ole Miss doing a dunk contest last year. I mean, you see numerous schools just have events. I personally miss the old fan day events that used to happen across the country.
Yeah.
Now, for example, Auburn is having their fan day or their spring game, I believe, this weekend. And then following that, they're doing the fan day. So kudos to Hugh Freeze, man. I like the fan day experience. I think it's a good way for you to really bring your fan base in and get them to buy into the program for the upcoming season.
And it brings more fans to the party too.
Absolutely.
Who doesn't know about the team or doesn't know about the coaching staff, and it's like, hey, come on down, have fun, and you might even find yourself becoming a fan quick.
You know, I did that. And I practically emceed an event for Marquette Catholic, and I was covering them up in Michigan City. They had a fan event. Boy, it was a blast. It was a blast. You got to know the athletes. I got to know the athletes that I would be covering that year. It was 2014. And it's just fun to have days like that. We're up against the break, but Wes Pruett, my good friend, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you. And I want to make you a regular guest. I want to work it out so you become a regular panelist on the show. Thank you, my friend. I love you and I appreciate you.
Anytime, my man. Just hit me up.
Will do. All right, we're up against the break. When we come back, something happened at Marquette Catholic 8 years ago that I still haven't gotten off my chest. Back in a minute.